How can you be the best creator in your league and still get benched on the biggest stage? That's the mystery of Joey Veerman, a midfielder who might just be the smartest player in Europe, but somehow everyone keeps getting him wrong. This is the same player who topped the Eredivisie in chances created, pulled the strings in back-to-back title wins with PSV, and still found himself humiliated with the early sub at Euro 2024. From his small-town beginnings to his misunderstood role in one of Europe's most tactically demanding midfields, today we're uncovering the truth about Joey Veerman and why the debate around him has been all wrong. It's not every day you come across a Dutch footballer who never laced up for Ajax, not even once. I mean, Ajax feels like a rite of passage for so many of the Netherlands' top talents. But Joey Veerman, he's one of those rare exceptions to the rule. And the funny thing is, his career path tells you more about Dutch football than you might expect. But we'll get to that twist soon enough. After a brilliant first season at SC Heerenveen, the kind that puts your name on the radar of scouts across Europe, you'd think he'd have clubs lining up at his door. And in a normal year, they probably would have. But this was right in the thick of the global pandemic. Football slowed down, budgets tightened, and opportunities that might have come his way just didn't. What happened next might surprise you, especially when you see how it shaped his reputation. Fast forward to today, Veerman's still only 26 and plying his trade at PSV. Yet, somehow people still don't quite get him. This is the same guy who, in the very season Ronald Koeman embarrassingly hauled him off before halftime, still ended up creating more chances than any other player in the Eredivisie. How can you be the league's top creator and still be questioned? That's one of the mysteries we'll unpack in a bit. But before we dive into why he's so misunderstood, let's rewind to where it all started. Purmerend, Netherlands, 1998. Little Joey, just 4 years old, joins KV Volendam, his local club, where football wasn't just a game, but part of the community's heartbeat. That same year, he moved to FC Volendam. And from there, his rise was steady, but not rushed. By 2016, the big moment came. A Eredivisie clash against VVV Venlo marked his professional debut. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a statement. Here was a teenager who'd earned his way into senior football the hard way, through seasons of learning, growing, and playing real competitive matches week in, week out. During his time with Volendam's senior squad, Joey pulled on the shirt 73 times in the league. That's a lot for a young midfielder still fighting his way in the professional game. And these weren't just minutes for the sake of experience. He scored 12 goals in that period, which is impressive when you think about the fact that his main job was to create rather than finish. At Volendam, his role was clear: be the creative spark, keep the ball moving, find the gaps, and play the kind of passes that made the forwards look good. Those years were his football classroom, and every game was a lesson. By the time he'd done a few seasons there, you could see he'd outgrown the stage. Scouts were watching. His name was starting to make rounds, and even Ajax got mentioned once or twice. But his next step, that would take him somewhere unexpected. And once it happened, nothing about his career would be the same again. You know how some players take months to settle into a new club? Joey Veerman didn't get that memo. When he made the move to SC Heerenveen in August 2019, it was more than just a change of scenery. It was a leap. From the grind of the Eerste with Volendam to the bright lights of Eredivisie football, this was the big stage, the place to prove he could mix it with the country's best. And he wasted no time making a statement. In his very first game against Fortuna Sittard, he set up a goal. First match, first assist. No nerves, no easing in, just a quick reminder that he belonged here. That moment didn't just get the fans talking. It set the tone for everything he'd do in a Heerenveen shirt. By the time the 2020-21 season rolled around, Joey was operating at full power. Across 31 league games, he stacked up 9 goals and 9 assists, a perfect balance that showed he wasn't just a passer or a scorer. He was becoming that rare kind of midfielder who could do both, and do it consistently. But the thing about standing out in the Eredivisie, people start paying attention. And not just fans. Bigger clubs, bigger ambitions, and soon the whispers started again. His form in that 2020-21 season didn't just impress Heerenveen faithful, bigger clubs started to notice. The kind of clubs where your name in the headlines means speculation runs wild. Before long, Ajax Amsterdam was being mentioned. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The kid who never came through their system might just be heading there after all. In the end, Joey stayed put for a little longer. Over 2.5 seasons at Heerenveen, he pulled on the shirt 80 times in all competitions, scoring 15 goals and setting up 17 more. Those numbers weren't padded by easy games either. Every stat came from the grind of regular Eredivisie football, against stronger opposition than he'd faced in the second tier. At the Abe Lenstra Stadion, he wasn't just another midfielder. He was the creative outlet. The player trusted to make something happen when the game was tight. Week after week, that responsibility shaped him, made him sharper, made him calmer under pressure, made him ready for something bigger. And when the next call came, it wasn't from Amsterdam. It came from another giant, a club with its own rich history and hunger for silverware. That move would change everything. But also spark a chapter in his career that even he couldn't have predicted. If Heerenveen was where Joey Veerman learned to shine, PSV Eindhoven was where the lights got brighter and the stakes got higher. January 2022, 4.5-year contract. One of Netherlands' traditional big three had just called his name. And when a move like that comes along, you don't just pack your bags. You pack every ounce of ambition you've got. This was a chance to fight for trophies, test himself in Europe, and show that his game wasn't just Eredivisie good, but big stage good. Fitting into a new team can be tricky. But under Roger Schmidt, Joey slid right into PSV's midfield like he'd been there for years. One of his first big moments came in the KNVB Cup semifinal against Go Ahead Eagles. Tight game, pressure mounting, and Joey stepped up with the match-winning goal. It wasn't just a strike. It was the kind of intervention that told everyone he could deliver when it mattered most. That win punched PSV's ticket to the final, and the fans knew they had a player for the big occasions. But he wasn't done. Later that season, on a European night against Arsenal, he found the net again, his first continental goal for the club. It wasn't just about the finish. It was about what it meant. Scoring against a Premier League side showed he could handle himself against top-tier opposition, not just in the Netherlands, but on a bigger stage. And speaking of big stages, if you're still with me now, you clearly appreciate a good football story. So here's the deal. Hit that like button and subscribe. Not for me, but for the next chapter in Joey's career, because it gets more interesting from here. Over the next few seasons, Joey didn't just fit into PSV. He became part of the club's heartbeat. Week after week, he was at the center of their midfield engine, dictating play and setting the tempo. And the rewards followed. PSV reclaimed their place at the top of Dutch football, winning back-to-back Eredivisie titles in 2023-24 and 2024-25, adding a KNVB Cup in 2022, and even lifting the Johan Cruyff Shield that same year. It was a golden run, and Joey was right there in the middle of it. Individually, the 2023-24 season was something special. Playing primarily in center midfield, he hit numbers that most players can only dream of, leading the entire league in chances created with 130. It was the season that had people finally saying, maybe Joey Veerman isn't just good in the Eredivisie, maybe he's ready for something bigger. And bigger seemed to be calling. Whispers of Real Madrid floated. Dortmund reportedly kept an eye. Heading into the last European Championship, he was in the form of his life, the kind of form that should have made him undroppable. But then came that game against Austria. The Netherlands were struggling. Koeman looked frustrated, and just 33 minutes in, Joey's number went up. Subbed off before halftime. On the biggest stage, when all eyes were watching, he was walking off the pitch, shaking his head. For some, that was all they needed to decide who Joey Veerman was as a player. It didn't matter what he'd done before, or what he could still do. In that moment, a narrative took hold, one that's followed him ever since. And here's the thing, most of it is wrong. But to understand why, we have to dig deeper into the perception gap that's defined his career. Here's the funny thing about Joey Veerman. The more it's clear they're not actually talking about him. See, most folks just remember moments. A misplaced pass here, a slow recovery there, or that infamous early substitution against Austria. But moments can lie. Numbers? Not so much. And the numbers on Joey tell a very different story. His playing style isn't about flying into crunching tackles or tearing up and down the pitch at 100 miles an hour. It's about control, precision, the kind of vision that can turn a game with one pass. There's a reason he created the most chances in PSV's 2023-24 title-winning campaign. He's got the ability to pick progressive passes that slice through lines, advancing the ball 10 yards or more towards goal like it's the simplest thing in the world. And under pressure, cool as you like. Even in the cauldron of Euro 2024, with the Netherlands facing high-stake games, he kept an 81.17% pass accuracy rate. That's not stat-padding sideways balls. That's calm decision-making against elite opposition. But let's talk about the other side of the ball, because that's where the criticism often comes knocking. You'll hear it. Yeah, he's good with the ball, but what about his defending? It's a fair question, until you actually look at the context. Sure, there have been lapses. That night against Leicester in the 2021 Europa Conference League, yeah, he was caught out of position once or twice. But football isn't played in isolated freeze frames. What matters is the bigger pattern. And in PSV's high pressing system, Joey's role isn't to fly into wild tackles. It's about anticipation, reading the game, cutting off passing lanes, stepping in before danger even looks dangerous. And the numbers back it. Over 1.5 interceptions per 90 minutes. That's the thing with him. His defending works best when the system works best. Put him in a tactically organized setup that limits transition chaos, and his potential intelligence shines. And those questions about him disappearing in big matches, they sound nice in debates. But the pitch tells another story. Take PSV's 2025 Eredivisie opener against Sparta Rotterdam. 5 chances created by one player in a single game. That's not disappearing. That's running the show. Or how about August 2024, when he racked up 4 assists in 1 month and walked away with Eredivisie Player of the Month? Moments like that don't happen by accident. They happen because when the stakes go up, Joey Veerman doesn't shrink. And for the record, Joey's not here to play someone else's role. He's made that clear. When people throw around the Pirlo clone label, he shut it down fast, saying, "I'm not a player who stays back and chases the ball." The data agrees. His heat maps tell a story of constant movement in advanced central zones, the opponent's half, not camped in front or his own backline. At Euro 2024, he covered 29.58 kilometers in total, proving he's anything but static. This is a midfielder who doesn't just orchestrate from deep, he pushes forward, breaks lines, and arrives late in the box. In domestic play, that translates to 2.3 key passes per 90 minutes, built on a steady diet of through balls, vertical switches, and disguised passes that leave defenders guessing. He is among the top 3 Eredivisie midfielders for through balls, which is no accident. It's a reflection of what he actually is, a modern connector, manipulating space and tempo, not a throwback to some deep-line regista archetype from the past. And maybe that's the heart of it. The misunderstanding, the gap between who Joey Veerman is and who people think he should be. It's a gap that has defined his career and one that might just decide where it goes next. And that, my friends, is Joey Veerman. Misunderstood? Maybe. Underappreciated? Definitely not by the ones who've been paying attention. But I'll leave you with this. Is the world finally ready to see Joey for what he is, or are we still arguing over the wrong things? If you've made it this far, you're a real MVP. Go ahead, tap that subscribe so you're here when we break down the next big story. And don't move a muscle. Your next video is right here, calling your name.